What's going on, everybody? All is well. So, in today's video, I'll be going over a young lady making 350K in New York. So, without further ado, let's see how she spends her money.
So that brings my total savings to $120,000. I'm 27 years old. I'm a quant researcher at a hedge fund in New York City. I make about $350,000 pre
All right, first off, no face, no case. And
tax, and this is how I spend my money in New York
hey,
City.
hold on.
So
What
for
she
my
do?
pre-tax, and this is how I spend my money. $150,000 pre-tax, and this is how I spend my money in New York City. So for my pre-tax
Hey,
income, which total
hold
quant
on.
researcher at a hedge fund in New
Oh,
York
okay,
City,
okay.
I
So she works in the STEM field.
make about $350,000 pre-tax, and this is how I spend my money in New York City. So for my pre-tax income, which totals $350,000, $200,000 of that is base salary, and $100,000 is performance-based bonus, which is a mix of team performance and individual performance.
Okay.
And the rest of the 50K is from personal investment income, which is a mix of different stocks and crypto that I invest in. That brings the total pre-tax to $350,000. So generally, I work about 10 hours a day, don't work weekends, so that would bring about 50 hours per week. Each month, my pre-tax income is around $16,700, of which I max out my 401k, so contribute a little bit less than $2,000 a month. And my monthly taxable income
Nice.
is $14,700, of which federal tax is $3,800, state tax is $900, and city tax is $600, which brings my post-tax monthly take-home pay to just over $9,300. For my annual bonus, my taxable amount is $100,000, and giving a 45% tax rate, I pay about $45,000 in taxes,
Crazy.
so the total take-home is
I mean, taxes in New York are high, but in my opinion, taxes overall are just highway robbery, man. It's crazy.
55,000 a year. For my personal stock trading, which is a mix of single stocks and crypto, I pay about 50% taxes and
Yep.
make around 50,000 a
Short-term
year,
capital
all of which
gains.
is short-term capital gains. So that gives me a 25,000 take-home amount. So it's definitely a significant tax bill, but I feel like the benefits of being in New York, from restaurants to meeting people in industry to meeting friends of diverse backgrounds, makes it worth it. Especially for the financial industry, all the biggest players are centered in New York, so I feel like it's been very fruitful for my career to be in the center of it all here. So my total annual take home from personal stocks is 25,000. My total annual take home pay is 192,000, and my monthly take home pay is 16,000. I would say building a very solid quantitative foundation, whether that's through math and programming classes in school or trading your own portfolio of stocks or researching stocks in your free time, was very helpful to me. When on my journey to joining the quantitative industry. I would also say having a good network of professionals in the field is very helpful as well. So trying to reach out to mentors in, let's say, different banks or different hedge funds that might have a similar background to you is also a great way to hear firsthand about their journey and how they're thriving in the industry right now. For my monthly expenses, starting with the responsible stuff, I spend $3,700 on rent per month. I live in a one-bedroom and split rent 50-50 with my partner. I'm in Midtown Manhattan in a luxury amenity
I noticed that like a lot of people that live in Manhattan that make well over 200K living in Midtown Manhattan, they have a roommate, which is pretty smart, you know. Instead of just paying the rent on your own, you have a roommate, and you get both of you live well together. It's a smart move.
building. For groceries, I spend $500 per month, a mix of Trader Joe's and Whole Foods snacks and dinners that I cook by myself. I spend $100 on utilities, and I'm lucky to have zero student loans and zero credit card debt. I had a mix of
Nice.
financial aid from college and support from parents for loans. For investments, I set aside 2K a month. Usually, this is a mix of different stocks I like to invest in, particularly in tech and healthcare, as well as
Okay.
crypto. And the rest of my money I keep in cash for short term purchases, but eventually try to funnel them into longer term investments as well.
I like that. I like the fact that the money that she got set aside, eventually she's looking to deploy it into long term assets. That's pretty smart. So she got her short term assets and then she got her long term assets. Nice.
For laundry, I spend nothing a month. I'm lucky I have a washer dryer in unit. I spend zero on car, do not have my own car, and I spend $100 on public transportation, taking the
Obviously in New York City, you know, that's a plus. You have access to public transportation because owning a car, you got car insurance, you got maintenance costs. So all that money that would go towards a car, you can allocate that towards investing. And the fact that again she has no student loans, no credit card debt, all that money could go towards investing.
subway to and from work. For subscriptions, I spend $50 a month. That's a mix of movie streaming platforms like Netflix and Spotify. So that brings my total responsible expenses to $64.50 a month. For irresponsible expenses, I spend around $200 a month on
Wait,
fun
what?
and
Hold on. Let me go back.
subscriptions. I spend $50 a month. That's a mix of movie streaming platforms like Netflix and Spotify. So that
Spotify. Between Netflix and Spotify, that's $50 a month. Interesting. Or she probably got the high tiers from for both of them. I don't know. I don't have Spotify, but Netflix is like around what the base tier is like $80. $80, like $8 a month. But yeah,
That brings my total responsible expenses to $64.50 a month. For irresponsible expenses, I spend around $200 a month on fun and random expenses. This could include classical music concert tickets or birthday gifts or museum tickets. I spend about $200 a month on alcohol. I like to try different bars in the city, and some of my recent favorites have been Double Chicken Please and SG Club. I spend about $200 on Ubers getting to and from restaurants and bars, especially late night, and that brings my total to $600 in irresponsible expenses each month. For bonus spending, I spend about $1,000 a month eating out. I really enjoy trying different restaurants in the city. I spend $1,000 a month on travel
yeah. New
on
York
average.
got some of the best restaurants out there, man. Yeah,
This includes larger trips overseas to Europe and Asia. I went to Japan for a couple weeks last year,
nice.
which was a highlight. Each month, I also spend $200 on gym and fitness. This is in the form of a ClassPass membership, which allows me to take classes in different studios in the city, ranging from SoulCycle, Barry's Boot Camp. On average, I spend about $50 per month on hair, mostly in the form of haircut and highlights every few months. For nails, spend about $50 a month, get my nails done once a month. For skincare, also $50 a month. This is a mix of different toners, concealers, and makeup. And then I spend about $100 on clothes, a mix of necessities, work clothes, and then sometimes fun clothes or limited edition collabs. Each month, I also spend $50 on coffee.
Yeah, it's always good to like upgrade your closet. You know, like every week set aside a set amount to where you buy a new pair of pants or shirt or tie or socks, vests, whatever the case may be. Just keep your closet fresh, but don't go overboard. But belt or something like that.
I have a coffee machine at my house, so this is mainly when I'm going to work or out with friends, and that brings my total bonus spending to $2,500 per month. I would recommend younger people to diversify their assets, so especially at a younger age, perhaps can be more aggressive with higher risk investments like stocks, but also put some in bonds, especially for economic downturns. Over the long term, my financial goal is to eventually own an apartment in
I like that. Like the sooner you start to learn how to invest, the better. You start young, like she said, you could take on a little bit more risk, and eventually as you get older, you start to move towards the safer side of things like ETFs and mutual funds. But I like it. She's 27. You know, if anybody could start younger than that in the early 20s, that's even better, man.
New York, hopefully a 3-bedroom apartment in Midtown Manhattan. For savings, I max out my 401k
Hmm.
every year. My total right now is 200,000 and it's invested with a pretty aggressive approach, so mainly in mid-cap growth stocks which gave
Yeah.
good growth over the past few years. For cash, I hold about $20,000 at all times. I do not have a Roth IRA. And lastly, for stocks, I have about 300.
Yeah, she doesn't have a Roth IRA because she makes above the threshold to qualify for a traditional Roth IRA. Now, she could do a backdoor Roth IRA conversion, but then that would increase her already high tax bill. But the benefit of that on the long term side is the fact that that money that would have compound over time is gonna be tax free. So yeah, but she could do a Roth IRA conversion, a backdoor Roth IRA conversion if she chooses to.
$100,000, and that's a mix of index funds, which would be about 20% of the portfolio, cryptocurrency, which is about 30%, and the rest of the 50%, a mix of tech,
Hmm.
healthcare, metals, and other high beta stocks that I'm
High risk,
researching
yeah.
Here and there. For index
Nice.
funds, I primarily invest in SPY, so that brings my
Spy.
total savings to $520,000.
Nice. Great job. And again, nothing wrong with this at all, man. Again, she's in New York. She has a roommate. She budget her money effectively. Nothing wrong here. This is pretty good. Pretty good, man. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching. Until next time, you guys be safe and enjoy the rest of your day. Peace.